Indy.
Hey, all right. Welcome in to episode number 28 of the Toilets to Titles podcast, week number 10 edition. I am your host, John Sheps. You can find me on Twitter at Coach Sheps. And with me today, not this evening, is my man Justin Stevens at JustinFF_. Justin, what's cooking?
Hey, so first I want to apologize to the listeners that were ramped up and ready to go for last night's show. I saw a couple people in the queue, so we were not able to log in and go live because of a bad windstorm. But we're back, and we got a shout out to all the veterans out there. Happy Veterans Day! Thank you very much for your service. But yeah, I'm ready to get cooking. We've got a pretty nice set of games lined up for us for this week.
Yes, sir. And not with us today is Nate. Nate picked up my slack last week. I missed it, and he's going to be picking up my slack next week when I'm away on vacation. That's Nate at Nate_Dirt19. Go give him a follow. And as always, you can follow the show on Twitter at Toilets2Titles. To listen, if you are, however you're listening to us, you can also listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Periscope, Spotify, or via our YouTube channel. We generally go live every Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, and we generally tweet out an alert when we are getting ready to go live. So if you follow us, if you subscribe, you will always know when we are going to be recording and when our episodes release. If you are following and if you are listening, it would be appreciated if you went to our YouTube channel, which will be posted in our show notes. Hit the like button on the episode, hit the subscribe button on the episode. All of that really helps with the algorithm to give us a boost, to get us to more ears and to more eyes. And if you are listening on Apple Podcasts, please go and give us a 5-star review. We would really appreciate that. I know we're doing a few giveaways and stuff like that, and we're getting ready for Frankenstank next year. What's the Gardner Minshew autograph giveaway? Do you have the details on that, Justin?
Yeah. So the Gardner Minshew giveaway, we only have I think 8 or 9 entrants right now. So your odds are pretty good. We're going to give it a little bit longer, maybe a few more weeks here, and we will we'll do a random drawing here in a few weeks. But for now, all you got to do, we will retweet after the show the card with the details again, but pretty much essentially you retweet the tweet about the Gardner Minshew autograph card and at 3 people to it, and we will give you an entry. If all 3 of those people then retweet with 3 new people, then we'll give you another entry. And then if you send us a screenshot to our Toilets Titles DM to show us that you are a subscriber on YouTube, we will give you 2 more entries. So I think right now we have 2 people that have 3 entries and 1 that has 2 entries. So there's 8 entries right now, I believe. So
I'm glad you're keeping track of all that.
Yeah, I've got a spreadsheet if I wanted to look at the absolute details, but yeah, it's something like that.
It's already getting confusing. Rich says we need to include a Luton autograph now, but I do not have a Luton or Luton, however it's pronounced, but I do have a Gardner Minshew. It's autographed out of 75. I think it's 50-something out of 75. So get your hands on that. I got a Justin Jefferson and a CeeDee Lamb coming. Maybe we'll do something once I'm not going to do a giveaway until we have enough people that we could build up our following. Maybe that'll be the next. Tell your friends about us, get our following up, and then I'll do a CeeDee Lamb or Jefferson giveaway.
You get a Justin Jefferson giveaway, then that random winner may just be me.
You're the one with the spreadsheet, so we'd have to hand the spreadsheet over to Nate. Listen, we're doing a Fantasy Cares donation this season. Every 50 followers will be donating an additional $10 to a charity of our choosing. We were inspired by Fantasy Cares, #Fantasy Cares. We're currently at $90. Our next target is 689 followers on Twitter. We're at 681, so we are 8 away from being at $100 total. So we're climbing. So we're almost there, and I believe we're going to be donating it to the Tim Tebow Foundation, which helps combat human trafficking, which is a very, important cause. So, all right, that's most of the all the logistics in there. But let's get into some news and the injury report. Let's talk some injury news from Week 9. David Johnson goes down with a concussion. Duke Johnson takes over. What do you think is the likelihood David Johnson plays this week?
I mean, it's a concussion. Typically, most players usually bounce back the next week, and they don't have the early game this week. So I think it's definitely possible. Knowing that we had to record a day later, I probably should have spent some time this morning looking at fresh updates, but this is all updated according to last night because I didn't quite have the time to look at it this morning. So as of last night, I mean, he's just got to follow that 5-step protocol.
5-step, and then it looks like Matthew Stafford's going to have to follow that as well. There's been this year, there's been a little cloud over Matthew Stafford with COVID, with the not COVID, with this and that. So
his wife in the off season.
Right. So hopefully everything goes well with Matthew Stafford, but he's in the concussion protocol. David Montgomery as well. He doesn't play till Monday night, so he has an extra day. But that also means you have to be cautious because if you don't have an option in case he can't go. But I mean, who's the backup to David Montgomery right now? Is it Ryan Nall?
Well, you got Nall if you want more of the receiving down work, and then you also have Patterson. So depending on the setup for your league, I don't know if Cordarrelle Patterson is classified as a wide receiver. Most leagues, I think he's classified as both, so you could slide him in there if you need him, but you could pick him up as your flex option if David Montgomery's normally your flex.
Now, Preston Williams, he got moved to the IR this morning for his foot, so I think that's at least 3 weeks.
Oh, wow.
How long it is, but he did get moved to the IR. So if you have Preston Williams and if you have an IR slot, put him on there. If not, you need to look into that and see, how long exactly. I know the minimum right now is 3 weeks, unless it's long term. Kyle Allen had a severe ankle dislocation, and Alex Smith was the next man up, not Dwayne Haskins. So go pick him up. He has a decent matchup this week. And then Damian Harris with the chest injury. So I don't know, Sony Michael, if he's coming off the IR anytime soon, but we also got James White over there. So the Patriots backfield, as always, is a cluster fud. What else? We got Calvin Ridley is expected to return after the Week 10 for the Falcons. They got the bye. Darrell Henderson expected to return this week. Joe Mixon returns this week. That's a little bit of a tease because I talk about him a little further down here. Miles Sanders returning this week, so all the Boston Scott shares are going to go out the window. But I'm sure they'll have some sort of timeshare. And then Deebo Samuel elevated off the COVID IR list. Still dealing with a hamstring that may not be 100%. So with the Week 11 bye for the 49ers, it's possible they sit him this week to be safe. But I like Brandon Ayuk and also Richie James. That's a guy I picked up in a few places this week because he had a monster game. Nick Mullins really connected with him. So that's a guy to consider. How about Raheem Mostert? They may play it safe with him, but he could be coming back. What do you think of the backfield situation in San Francisco right now?
I mean, it is what it is. I mean, as long as it's not Tevin Coleman, evidently, you can move forward. But if Mostert's playing, he's the only one that you're starting with any kind of comfort.
Yeah, I started Hasty last week in a lot of places, and that really came back to bite me because he did not do anything. Legitimately didn't do anything. I know Christian McCaffrey, he's got a shoulder. I'm not necessarily sure where they're taking it day to day with him, so there's really no update yet. Hopefully he can play. He was a monster. He had a monster performance when he came back. So if you're counting on Christian McCaffrey, we're hoping that he's going to come back this week with no issues. Hopefully they just rest him, pad him up, and send him out there. Now, Kenny Galladay is another guy.
Hey, you know what? I just got a sleeper app update. Like it literally chimed in as you were talking about CMC. It says that Christian McCaffrey is not expected to play Sunday against Tampa Bay due to a right shoulder per sources. McCaffrey now will be considered week to week.
Zeke wasn't expected to play either. Now he didn't play well, but maybe he'll pull off a miraculous comeback. But it's not looking good right now. Kenny Galladay, he's unlikely to play. That's not looking good. Chris Carson, Pete Carroll said he has a chance to return this week, depending on how he does in practice. So we will see on Chris Carson. It might be time to sit Might be time to sit DJ Dallas because Chris Carson's coming back. Carlos Hyde, it's another same thing. Same thing we got on Chris Carson. It depends on how he looks in practice. But Nick Chubb, he's eligible to be activated, and supposedly he looks phenomenal at practice, and he has a great matchup this week. So I'm excited about Nick Chubb this week. And then finally, T.Y. Hilton was a full participant in practice on Monday. Watch it close. They have a Thursday night matchup. I know Michael Pittman did decent last week, so he's definitely a guy to play there. But monitor that situation because that's tomorrow now. So what do you think? You think he plays?
I think T.Y. Hilton plays, but I don't really think that it matters too much for your fantasy teams. He wasn't very relevant for your fantasy teams pre-injury, so post-injury, you always want to be careful with guys coming off of groin injuries and hamstring injuries, especially at the wide receiver position. So there's
especially burners, guys that are just supposed to take the top off the defense. Look at Deshaun Jackson, dude.
Yeah,
it's falling apart. The wheels are falling off. All right, games of the week. Justin, why don't we start with your game of the week? What is your game of the week and why?
Okay, I've got the Broncos and Raiders, and I'm excited about it because this AFC West matchup, pretty much anytime there's been an AFC West matchup, I've either made it my game of the week or considered it my game of the week because it doesn't matter who the two teams are. It's like the NFC East. It doesn't matter how bad the teams are right now; they're always still going to be close, hard-fought games, and they might be ugly sometimes, but they're still going to be battles. So I'm looking forward to it. You got Drew Lock, who's finally coming alive. The last 6 quarters, he's looked really good. The Raiders are actually good this year. They're both contending for a wild card spot. So life is always good when these two teams are decent and playing against each other. So that'll be a fun 4:00 in the afternoon game. And actually, all 3 of us chose a 4:00 afternoon game. We didn't really spread the love too much this week.
Skip the 1 p.m. games this week, everybody. Just set your lineups, go rake leaves or something, or go to the beach. It's 70 degrees out, one or the other. But we've also established that Philip Lindsay is better than Melvin Gordon, so that's good in the Broncos-Raiders game. Jerry Jeudy's balling out. Derek Carr is looking decent. Darren Waller. Hopefully Josh Jacobs can become dominant again because he's been pretty basic ever since.
And they're not. I don't think they trust Josh Jacobs as much as they're utilizing all 17 of the other running backs there.
Yep. Ever since I put him on my duds list, we had that discussion. It was a preemptive dud calling, and he's been dud since. So I need him to bounce back, especially in Too Legit. Especially,
I'm going to type in a quick apology right now since Rich is watching and chiming in a lot here. So sorry about that.
Oh, I was targeting him. I'm targeting him. What else was I going to say? Oh, how about that Kyler Murray trade? In one of the leagues me and Justin are in, it's an IDP league, and Kyler Murray, Superflex, went for Bobby Wagner, Buda Baker, and a first. And like a few weeks prior, I traded DJ Chark, Antonio Gibson, and something else for Patrick Mahomes, maybe a first. I think I might have included a quarterback. I'm not sure. But anyway, the going rate went down a little bit. But now I got to try to keep up because that's my competition. So I need Josh Jacobs. Long story short, comes back to Josh Jacobs. I need him to ball because he needs to carry me. Both my quarterbacks have buys this week. My game of the week is Bills at Cardinals. Bills stomped out the Seahawks, but now they're heading over to Arizona. Kyler's on fire. It goes back to Kyler here. And let's see how Tre'Davious White does against DK Metcalf. I'm sorry, not DK Metcalf. He just played DK Metcalf, and DK Metcalf had a hell of a game. Now he's going up against DeAndre Hopkins. And I think this is going to be a very exciting, very fun game to play. The Cardinals are kind of unorthodox, similar to how the Seahawks are. So the Bills handled the Seahawks well. Let's see if they can handle the Cardinals. Let's see how Chase Edmonds can do if he can continue to hold the rock and be the number 1 running back there. Let's see if Josh Allen can continue to ball. It's a big, big, big matchup for the Bills. Also, on the other hand, I put money on the Dolphins to go over 5.5 wins. They're at 5. I also put money with better odds on the Dolphins to win the AFC East. So now I'm hoping the Cardinals win this game because the Dolphins are only 1 game behind the Bills. And that would be big wins for me. So it all comes back to me. Very, very selfish. Then Nate's got Chargers at Dolphins. Speaking of which, all ties in. 405. Tua versus Herbert. This could be the first of many big time great matchups between these two guys. Tua looked great last week, says Nate. Chargers can't win close games, says Nate. Anthony Lynn will be looking for a new job if that continues. He's the Chargers moving the ball on the Dolphins. So let's see. This could be Keenan Allen's been hot. If you're a fantasy owner and you got Keenan Allen, he's been hot. He's been killing it for you, especially in PPR. So let's hope Keenan Allen stays healthy and he keeps killing it. All right, Justin, Thrive. Let's tell us about the Thrive app here.
Yeah, so the Thrive Fantasy app is it works a lot like DFS sites like DraftKings and that sort of thing. So you can download the Thrive Fantasy app, and if you're a new user of the app, all you have to do is type in a promo code T2T just below John's chin there, T2T. And that's our promo code, and that will get you some free money. You download, you deposit anywhere between $20 to $50, and they will double your deposit. So that gives you free money to spend on your actual bets. And it's interesting. It's different than most DFS. It's different than most standard fantasy. It's kind of somewhere in the middle. You're betting on prop bets. It's actually pretty cool. It's a lot of entertainment.
All right, now that leads us into our betting segment. These are Nate's lines for the week. Again, that's at Nate_Dirt19. Lines that interest him: Chargers +2.5 at Miami, Arizona -2 versus Buffalo. So he likes that Arizona's the favorite here. Seattle +2 at the Rams, and then his locks: Minnesota -2.5 at Chicago. He knows that division, so I trust Nate on that. And then Carolina +4.5 versus Tampa, which I don't know. I think Tampa is going to be a little pissed off, and I do think there's going to be a lot of air yards in this game between Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, and then Antonio Brown, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. There's going to be a lot of points in this game. So whatever the over is, over/under, I'm betting the over. Brady should bounce back. All right, that brings me into the dudes and duds for the week. My dudes: Jared Goff at Seattle. The Seahawks have the worst passing defense in the NFL. Goff and the Rams are coming off a bye week, and they get a nice matchup at home. Roethlisberger versus Cincinnati. Steelers survived the trap game, and they now well, I guess this can't be, right? He's got COVID. So I wrote this yesterday, so cut that out. And I will not be starting Mason Rudolph at all. So I got one dude this week at quarterback. Hell, you throw Kyler in there. You can throw Josh Allen in there. All those guys are clearly dudes. And how about boom, I'm shooting from the hip. Teddy Bridgewater. Start Bridgewater versus Tampa. Like I said, I think Tampa's going to be pissed off, but I think their offense is going to be. Their defense has been playing well. But even if the offense takes off and Tampa comes out hot and they go up 14-20, that means Carolina's going to be thrown from behind a lot. And they got a lot of deep vertical threats, and all it's going to take is a few big-time home runs, hit to Robbie Anderson, hit to DJ Moore. So I'm putting Teddy Bridgewater in. Roethlisberger's out. But I do think that Roethlisberger is hoping that he could play Sunday just so he could say if they lose that he had COVID. So he's got an excuse because Roethlisberger is an excuse guy. So, all right, running back, Nick Chubb versus Houston. I'm waiting for him to come off the IR, but he's back. He's ready to let loose. The Texans average the most rushing yards allowed per game with 159. With Baker possibly out, they'll see a lot of Nick Chubb. Even if Baker is playing, they should see a lot of him. But it looks like Baker is going to be allowed to come back. I'm sorry?
Yeah. I was going to say Baker has been approved to come back to play.
Wednesday. He's allowed to, so as of today, he's allowed to come back into the facility, but they're going to ease him back in. So let's see how that goes. Now, Antonio Gibson at Detroit. I think we're about to see Gibson go off over the next 3 weeks. If you can, go buy him now before he goes off. The Lions are the 30th ranked run defense, tied with the Bengals, who will face next week, and just behind Dallas, who he's going to face the week after that. So he's going to be hot. He's a dude for the next 3 weeks. He's about to take off. Buy him, start him up. Michael Thomas at San Francisco. This one's easy. I normally don't like to reach for the low-hanging fruit, but he missed out on a TD last week versus Tampa Bay. It was a touchdown party. He didn't get one. He's kind of a salty cat. I think Drew Brees is going to look to get him the ball, get him some touchdowns this week. So I expect a big-time performance from Michael Thomas. Jerry Jeudy at Oakland. Jeudy went from 10 targets in week 8 to 14 in week 9. He's trending in the right direction at the right time. I love him this week. I think he'll have another monster performance. And then finally, Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert hurt me 2 weeks ago when I nearly started him everywhere, but I just can't quit him. Coming off a bye, I think he'll be ready to be the option B behind Travis Fulgham for Carson Wentz and the Eagles. I look for about 6 receptions, 70 yards, and a touchdown from Goedert this week. I think it'll be a very nice day. Now on to my duds. I got Matthew Stafford in there at Washington. He's coming off a concussion. If he plays, the Skins have averaged the least amount of the football team have averaged the least amount of passing yards against so far this season with 185 a game. With Golladay banged up, I'm not risking it. I'm not starting Stafford. Tannehill at the Colts. Tannehill has come back down to earth over the last 5 weeks, only topping 250 passing yards once. The Colts are another team that are great against the pass, and I look for Tannehill to struggle. Joe Mixon at Pittsburgh. I teased this earlier. Mixon is expected back. The Steel Curtain will be planning his welcome back party. This won't be a fun matchup for Joe or his fantasy football owners. Dalvin Cook at Chicago. The Bears held Derrick Henry to 68 rushing yards last week and kept him out of the end zone. Cook has been hot, but it's hard for me to believe he sustains that high temperature. I think he cools down in Chicago, and I think you're going to see a few duds from him over the next few weeks. I wouldn't be surprised if you see an injury. All right, I don't want to wish an injury on anybody, but Dalvin Cook's the type of cat where, I think like a small tissue, hamstring, something's going to come up with Dalvin Cook. Darius Slayton versus Philly. I figured we'd be seeing a bit more of him last week with Golden Tate out, but he only received 1 target. Over the last 3 games, Philly is second in the NFL against the pass. If Darius sees a lot of Darius Slay, it will be another quiet day for Darius Slayton. So Darius Slay versus Darius Slayton. I like that matchup this week. DJ Chark versus the Green Bay Packers. Chark had a hell of a day last week, but I don't think the Luton Chark matchup will have similar results against a tough Packers defense in Green Bay. The Jags will get it done on the ground, but Chark will be shadowed by Jair, and he'll get the clamps. Finally, Mark Andrews at the New England Patriots. Andrews will get the star treatment from Bill and his defense. They will not allow Lamar to connect with him in an effort to make him uncomfortable and keep him looking human. So those are my dudes and duds. And as always, this will all be posted over at fusionffb.com. We have weekly articles there where we put all of our show notes, including all of our segments. So you don't have to write all that down. You can go check that out. It'll be posted sometime today. So Justin, let's hear those streamers.
Right on. And before I get into the streamers, I want to say that it's good to see. I don't know if you're doing this intentionally like I am, but we've got the No Shave November going on for the Men's Health Awareness Month. So it's a good time to throw that in there. I just happened to notice. So, but yeah, we'll
growing it out.
Move on to the streamers here before you all go check your junk for bumps. So let's see. I had another good week in the streamers from last week. Actually, this one was actually a really good week. I did have a bit of a dud with Matthew Stafford, but I did tell you that you need to temper your expectations as far as streamers go. Last week, streaming quarterbacks were a little rough, but he had 211 yards and a touchdown, and then those 2 interceptions really made it a very subpar performance for Stafford last week, and he got an injury late in the game as well. But Bob Tonyan also was a really bad one. 1 catch for 5 yards, and Trey Burton 1 catch for 6. But my highlights from last week: Drew Lock was a top 5 quarterback. Zach Moss 48 yards and a touchdown, which is for a running back, a streaming running back, that's a good game. Marvin Jones 43 yards, and that touchdown helped save him. Mike Williams, 81 yards on 5 catches. Kirk Cousins was a top 12 quarterback. Jerry Jeudy was a top 5 wide receiver. John Brown, 8 catches for 99 yards. And the Titans and Giants defenses were both top 4, depending on your scoring format. This week, looking forward, I like Drew Lock again. Nobody is picking him up and owning him in a lot of leagues, so he's still considered a really good, viable streamer here. So like we said earlier, he came alive in the second half of that Chargers game in Week 8. Then he had a beautiful matchup last week against the Falcons, and he didn't disappoint. 313 yards, 2 touchdowns, and only 1 interception passing. He also added 47 yards and another touchdown on the ground. The defense hasn't really played well since week 6 against the Patriots. So look for Locke to continue to carry the load on his shoulders. Jared Goff, the Seattle secondary is the second worst in the league against quarterbacks. Goff hasn't played great this season, but overall he has performed well against weaker secondaries. So he does have an opportunity to shine this week. I also have some other quarterbacks here: Baker Mayfield, Derek Carr, Tua, Foles. I like all their matchups and their opportunities this week. I want to kind of go back a little bit to what you said about Gibson performing well over the next 3 weeks. Another guy that you might consider is J.D. McKissick, because he's really the receiving back in that offense, and he's kind of facing the same kind of defenses coming up. So he's definitely somebody to consider week to week when you're streaming running backs, considering that running backs are tough to stream as it is. So he's gotten at least 8 targets in 4 of the last 5 games. He's averaging 40 yards per game receiving alone. McKissick is only 42nd overall in points per game in PPR, and that's only a mid RB4. But yet he also hasn't scored a single touchdown yet. So the positive regression for the amount of times that he's touched the ball would suggest that he's due for a touchdown. And against the Lions this week, I think he's definitely due. So I like him to have a touchdown this week. Richie James, 9 catches for 184 yards and a touchdown last week. We touched on him just a little bit earlier. Obviously, with Debo coming back and Ayuk is back, we like those options a lot more. So, again, this is just a streaming thing. I'm not saying you're going to have to go out and pick him up and he's a must start. I'm saying if you're desperate, I don't see those kind of numbers just simply going away now that they've seen what he can do. So, but also okay, yeah. So I wrote down here that I believe they'll find a way to keep him involved against the Saints defense that is difficult to run against. So that's key to understand too. With that entire backfield banged up, they're probably going to have to go through the air because the Saints will give up a lot more yards through the air than they will on the ground. So I do like James to be a wide receiver 3 this particular week, and until Ayuk and Debo can get their feet back under him, I think he's going to be streamable. Dallas Goedert, I agree with you 100%. You had him as one of your duds, but I'm allowed to use him as a streamer as well because he is he's owned in.
Had him as a dude.
What's that?
Had him as a dude.
Yeah. Sorry, that's my bad. I was getting a phone call here, yeah. So a dude, yeah. You had him as a dude, and I agree 100%. But fortunately for me, I can also use him as a streamer because he is unowned in over 50% of ESPN leagues still. So a lot of people aren't expecting him back. So last week, this past week they had a bye, but the week before that he only had 1 catch for 15 yards, just knocking the dust off. So he's had this entire week on bye to get ready and for this week. So I think he should have a good game. Defense and special teams, I've got the Eagles and the Giants, and these 2 teams are playing each other. Both of these teams are kind of overperforming based off of what we know about these teams. And most of the time when they're overperforming, it's because they're playing against other NFC East teams. And with both of them playing each other, I think there's a chance that both of these defenses could be very streamable. Some others to consider, I've got Jordan Howard, Mark Ingram, Joshua Kelly, Jalen Reagor, Darnell Mooney, Gesicki, Hooper, and the Packers defense as well.
Excellent. All right, so that brings us up to our DFS plays for the week. As always, we use DraftKings for our DFS plays. This week, I'm starting Tom Brady at Carolina for 6,300 because I do think Brady is not going to go down like that. Brady was pretty pissed off after last week's game, hearing everybody talk about Breeze. He would like nothing more than to come out and throw for 4 touchdowns. So Tom Brady's going to throw for 4 touchdowns this week. Start him up 6,300. James Robinson at Green Bay for 6,600. What I talked about earlier with DJ Chark being shut down, I also said that Jacksonville's going to get it done on the ground. They're going to run all over that Green Bay Packers defense. Green Bay still wins. It'll get out of hand in the second half, but luckily James Robinson will get it done. He'll get in the end zone. He'll have at least 80 yards on the ground. He'll probably have a touchdown or two. So that's 14 to 20 points, somewhere in there, I'm expecting from James Robinson. They can keep it closer in the second half, and we could see somewhere over 20 points. But if they let Aaron Rodgers throw that thing, they're going to need to throw it, and that might change the game plan a little bit. Antonio Gibson at Detroit, I already talked about him earlier, 5,600. I like his matchup. I think he's going to get it done. And then I like Michael Thomas as well. I put him in my dudes and duds for San Francisco. He's my most expensive cat on this lineup at 7,400. I think he gets 1 or 2 touchdowns this week, and I think he gets at least 8 receptions. So I think Michael Thomas is a great start. Chase Claypool versus Cincinnati at 5,800. It definitely hurts him a little bit to not have Ben Roethlisberger, but I think Mason Rudolph, I think Chase Claypool is the type of cat that he could just take a step, get hit in the screen game, and I think he's going to get enough targets in the screen game. They're going to try to get him the ball. It's not going to be like vertical, all right, he can take a few vertical routes, but I think a lot of his work is going to be get the ball in his hands and then work. I think they're going to try to make it easier on Mason Rudolph, and I think Chase Claypool is quarterback friendly. Jerry Jeudy versus Las Vegas for 5,600 again. I think he's coming on at the right time. He had 14 targets last week, so if he can see anywhere between 10 and 14 and catch 6 to 8 of those, get in the end zone, that's another monster play there. Dallas Goedert, the New York Giants for 4,200. That's cheap. Okay, and this is a guy who's going to get targets like a wide receiver, okay? Like I said, he's the option behind Travis Fulgham. So if he can get somewhere between 5 to 8 targets, catch 5 to 6 balls, get in the end zone, that's another great play. Brandon Ayuk at New Orleans, even if Devo's there. I like both of them, but Ayuk's at 5,700. And this guy, before he was out last week, he had a monster performance. Before that, he had a good performance. So I think Ayuk is the type of guy who's coming on very strong. Start him up. He's going to top 100 yards. And then I'm starting the Giants versus Philadelphia. I know I like Goddard this week. I don't really like their backfield. Miles Sanders is a little hurt. Boston Scott's going to get some touches. But I do think that the Giants defense is playing well. Giants defense is definitely playing well. They have pride, and this is a division game, and I think they're going to punch each other in the mouth, and it's in New York. All right, so I think the Giants defense holds Philadelphia to about 17 points, but I think they hit Carson Wentz often. I think they have some turnovers. So for 2,700, that's very cheap. That's like mid-level. So you're going to get a defense that's going to score you a few points there. I like it. So again, it's Brady, Robinson, Gibson, Thomas, Claypool, Jeudy, Goddard, Ayuk, and the Giants defense. So start that lineup and go win you some money. So Justin, you got some turtle heads that are about to break out. Let's hear who they are.
Yeah, I like that DFS lineup too. I might have to consider something because I don't really typically play that very much, but I really like that lineup. That looks delicious.
Go ahead, man. Put it in there.
All right, so my turtle head for this week is pretty simple for me. It's kind of a no-brainer, and that's Allen Lazard. In his first 3 games before getting hurt, Lazard had an average of 4.3 catches, but 84.6 yards per game in those first 3 games. He also added 17 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. He's very likely back this week. If not, then it's going to be really soon. It was a core injury, so it was kind of rough. That's why he's been out for so long. But people gave up on him. They stopped. They didn't want to wait for him to come back, and you don't want to wait until he does come back and then have to spend fab money to get him because he's the number 2 in that offense when he's healthy. So if you think about what some of these number 2s have been able to do between Bob Tonyan being the second option or Marquez Valdez-Scantling with 2 touchdowns last week, I mean, that number 2 option is key for that offense, and they're going to be heavily used. Right now, he's still available in 57% of ESPN leagues, 49% of my fantasy leagues, and 62% of Yahoo leagues. So he's definitely available, and you can get him right now for free in those leagues. I also want to take the time real quick. I know we don't typically do stuff like this. We don't really promote or boost other things outside of fantasy football, but this one is pretty important to us and especially to my wife, and she's been working her ass off for this organization. They put together this thing called Empowering Look, Beauty for a Cause. And this isn't like I'm not going to ask you to go out and watch a bunch of beauty YouTubers. I know that's not our thing here in the fantasy football world, but this is something that's worth bringing some attention to, especially before the holidays. We're going to we're going to link a couple of sites about this organization called Alternatives. And then there's going to be a third link in there that's for an Amazon wish list if you feel it on your heart to donate. But this is an awesome charity that my wife has been as the moderator of for over 20 beauty YouTubers to help build educational, psychological, and emotional support for domestic violence abuse victims. And this is for male victims and female victims. This is for children, any type of domestic violence, elderly people that are involved in domestic violence that are victims. It's designed to help all of them. So I couldn't be more proud of her for her empathetic and giving heart. Alternatives is a wonderful organization that is built to help victims of domestic violence, like I said. But it's more than just housing and services. There's so much more to it. But this particular location that she's working to help out is in East Central Indiana. So it's like a small supportive community for these people, and they need anything that they can get. So when we're asking to donate, it's not like we're asking you to donate money to an organization where the CEOs are going to take money off of the top. That's not it. That's why they set up an Amazon wish list. So Alternatives has created this Amazon wish list too. So it's going to go directly to them if you order off of that list. It's basic needs stuff like toilet paper, hand sanitizer, shampoo and conditioner, hairbrushes, gift cards, so that the people that are there that are victims there maybe might be able to go get something for their kids for Christmas. I mean, there's so much that you could do just with this Amazon wish list. So with the holidays coming up, and we're talking about getting toiletries and stuff, like those toiletries and gift cards can make the difference between a kid living in fear at home or having a very basic yet amazing Christmas and considering the horrible situation that they're in. So I just wanted to plug that real quick. And again, it's going to be linked on our YouTube. It's going to be linked in the podcast.
It's also going to be on fusionffb.com. Everything you posted, the link, everything, the write-up, exactly as it was spoken. You'll be able to see the Amazon wish list, the link, everything will be on there, and it'll be there permanently. You can go back. If you listen to this week 13 or week 14, you can go to fusionffb.com and click on the article that states Toilets to Titles NFL Week 10 Primer. You could go scroll down. It's under the turtle heads. It's the last segment. So you could go and check that out. In the future, we can even refer to this article if we want to bring it back up so people can go back and check it out.
Right on. I appreciate that. Thank you.
No sweat. So, all right, we powered through this episode, man. We think this is going to be the shortest one ever. We're going to be at about 40 minutes, but it had to get out. You guys need this information, or we appreciate you listening to it. I don't know how much you need it, but we definitely appreciate. We need you to listen to it. We appreciate that. So we remember. How do they get entered for the Gardner Minshew giveaway?
Oh yeah, so the Gardner Minshew giveaway again. All you got to do, we're gonna, like, I will, as soon as we get off here, I'm gonna go repost on the Toilets to Title Twitter page. So at Toilets to Titles, the picture of the Gardner Minshew autograph card that John has donated for this giveaway. All you have to do is at 3 people. So tag 3 people with an at, and you're going to get entered by retweeting it. If all 3 of those people at 3 more people, then you'll get another entry. And then also just send us a screenshot, because we have 116 subscribers, I think, on YouTube. Maybe it's more now. But if you're not subscribing, just subscribe. If you're already subscribing, then just screenshot that you're subscribing and send it to us through DM, and you'll get 2 more entries.
All right, so that's how you're going to get in there. Remember, you could follow us all on Twitter. I will be on Twitter and am on Twitter at Coach Sheps. Justin is at JustinFF_. Nate is at Nate_Dirt19, and the show is at Toilets to Titles. You could tweet at any of us or the show with any start-sit questions, trade polls, whatever. My DMs are open. You could DM us. We might not get back to you right away, but we will get back to you. We appreciate that. And then if you want us to share it, we'll share it and get it out there. So hopefully it can get you more clicks and more responses so you could make those tough decisions. If you're listening to us on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, whatever. If you can go check out our YouTube link, even just hit subscribe, hit like. It's going to enter you for a chance to get that Gardner Minshew card, but it's also going to help us out. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, we really would appreciate a 5-star review with something in there, just stating what you think of the show. Just, again, to try to get this thing closer to the top when people look fantasy football, so we can get this to more ears and to more eyes. So as always, we appreciate you. Justin.
That's all I got. I'd like I said, just No Shave November. Make sure you guys are checking your junk, and we want to have healthy listeners so that you guys can listen to us forever, because that's what it's all about.
Just love each other, man. Just love each other.
Just love each other.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Have a good week and good luck week 10.